this is back at Fallon, Nevada, on one of our ranches. That's my brother George, running a mower. This is back in pre-World War II. These tractors can now cut the amount of hay that we used to cut with 4 teams when I was working there. Now that's my brother Herman. He's taking a turn on his tractor. This is alfalfa hay. And in those days, it was done a lot different than today. Now this is what I've been used to doing back about 30 years ago. Driving a team. That's a side delivery rake. We didn't have those when I was there. This is a faster way to windrow the hay. That's Herman, who passed away a few years ago. You'll notice that the rakes and the mowers work in conjunction with each other to prepare the thing. Now this is the old dump type rake that I used to handle a lot of. This makes the shocks for hand delivering onto wagons that you'll see later for stacking. Today it's done entirely different. This is primitive, very primitive. It's the only way it was done when I was there. You can see that the operator of that rake has to know what he's doing to turn those shocks and keep that hay in a pile. George back on the old tractor. This tractor travels at about 6 to 8 miles per hour, whereas a team traveled only about 1.5 miles or 2 miles per hour. And this cuts a 10-foot swath, and in the old team, they were only a 4-foot. This is real alfalfa hay. Now my brother George, the only remaining member of my family left, younger brother. He doesn't like to be photographed. How it should be done. Now this is a derrick, and they're pulling it into place, setting up, they're setting up hay, excuse me. That's a load of hay. Now will be dumped. My brother, Herman, was the stacker. They pulled the ripcord, it turned the hay loose. It came on these wagons. These are the way we handled the hay in the primitive days when we had 50 or 60 head of horses to take care of. Now that load of hay would weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,800 pounds. And it picked up at one time and with that derrick and put up there, and then my brother maneuvered it into place and then dumped it. And they kept doing that until the stack got 20, 30 feet tall. Today, the hay is baled, not handled in this way. In those days, we had 6 or 8 wagons hauling hay, and you had 8, 10. Okay, now we're moving the derrick to a new location for a new field. Remember, these fields take care of 100, 200, 300 acres of hay. So you've got to move them so that you don't have to haul the hay so far to do the stacking. And these derricks have to be placed where they're on an absolute level plane in order for them to function properly. Otherwise, they didn't go from the slip to the stack. That's my brother Herman, who was the stacker. John was the stacker ahead of that. That's part of the crew. Some of the slip drivers. Throw a cable over the stuff is all handled by hand. Once in a while, one of those shocks, you had a gopher snake fall out of it when you had it up there. That's my nephew, Dal Jr. on the derrick team. Back with Herman again, out on the ranch. Caught him working. They're getting ready to manufacture irrigation boxes for the irrigation ditches. On the farm, there's always something to do. No rest. Thank God I left. Herman with his cigar. Jean and Tony. Sawing wood with an old handsaw. They didn't have power tools in those days like we have today. I think the photography was pretty good. George doesn't like it. He's getting mad. Now, he just said something. I remember what he said. And he's finishing it now. He's gritting his teeth. He wished to hell I'd take my camera and go home. He doesn't like him. And Herman was laughing about it. For that film being that old, out in the Markham district, Bob's death with some of my movie equipment. This is a Fallon, Nevada. Out, there was a river ran through the ranch. That's my mother's ranch home, where I was raised from about 1920 to 1920 till I left in about 1930. George with one of the dogs out in the snow. Tony learning to play winter game. And Bob and Herman. You notice Bob always smoked cigars, and Herman liked cigars too. That's Herman, in front of the home ranch, showing off. And here's the great producer with his daughter. One of our dogs. George and Herman. George still doesn't like to be photographed. Herman wasn't crazy about it. Now, this is my sister Mary, and I, and my mother, and Herman and George. My mother was always happy. Oh yeah, Tony down there in the front. My mother was always happy when her children were around. Her children were her pride and joy. My two nieces, Evelyn and Eleanor Shane, with Tony. Oh yeah, and there's Ronnie, Ron, Stan Shane, excuse me. Ron's another. This is my older brother, John Shane, and his wife, Grace. She was a school teacher for many years. John left the farm and went into business up in Reno after he tried a stint with the farming. This is Eleanor and Evelyn, my nieces. The last I know of Eleanor, she's doing some um, missionary work overseas with the Catholic Church. Eleanor lives in Reno. This is George again, and Herman in front of the ranch house. And the old movie producer, and my brother John, who is 9 years older than I am. He still had some open country. Got back to real, back with the cattle again. And the Derrick. I'm going to show how they stacked the hay with the Derrick. George with one of his favorite dogs. He could whistle and make the dog bark and talk. Dogs are very sensitive to sounds. My mother and Jane, out in front of the cellar. Tony's back there on the cellar. Picture taking time. Family portraits. And there's a woman that lived to be 74 or 75 years old and never complained. Never. She was always thankful she came to America and was an American. Family lives in Arizona. Here's yours truly in the center with my two brothers, George on my left, on my right, and Herman on my left. I didn't have the camera in focus. It'll come into focus later. George and Tony. One of our dogs, either Tippy or Bolly, and Tony, out on the ranch. This was out in Lone Tree. This is Dal Jr. and Tony. My mother, my wife, and I. I'm the one dressed in the male overalls. My mother was born in Slovenia and came to America in about 1905. That's my two brothers, my wife, my daughter and nephew. Pride and joy of my mother. My mother loved her family. That's one time George didn't mind acting up in front of the camera. Herman passed away a few years ago. George was out in the field pitching the hay. Back to the irrigation canal. The reels got mixed up. I was ready to start talking. Marie says I'm always ready to talk. I won't shut up. Did you hear that, Marie?